So within that trust, whether it's non-discretionary, whether it's discretionary, there are permitted expenditures that can be made out of the trust. And many of these permitted expenditures are consistent with regulations within the province. And you'll see that there's a number of areas that funds can be dispersed from the trust for the benefit of that person with a disability. So the common vehicles of disbursement are devices or medical aids, caregiver services, education and training, renovation to the place of residence of that person with a disability, maintenance, and then any other item that promotes independence.
So with those expenses or expenditures, how would you draw on that? Would you draw monthly? Do you draw in a lump sum? And do those requests have to be, or those expenditures need to be in writing ahead of time?
Yeah.
Or can you just do it as you go, if it is, particularly if it's in a discretionary trust?
So again, with a discretionary trust, you're going to be really at the mercy of the trustee. And so you're going to want, and we're going to talk a little bit more later on about ways that we might design a trust to ensure some of those needs and requests are put forward, and a method for trustees and beneficiaries perhaps to work together. In terms of the permitted expenditures, all of the expenditures that I've just outlined have unlimited dollar amounts, and so there is no limit in terms of what you can use these funds for. So if you decide to spend, $100,000 out of the trust, that is permissible. Now, yes.
Question from someone online. Does a car count as promoting independence?
Absolutely. So, and that's a great question. The question was, does a car or vehicle serve as a method of independence? And absolutely. I mean, one of the big changes around the independence clause, prior to December 1, 2015, there used to be a limit on what you could expend out of the trust fund annually, and it was capped at $8,000. But as of December 1, 2015, that exemption limit has now been distinguished, and it's now unlimited. So you can spend an unlimited amount of dollars. And what the ministry does in terms of determining what is independence, they look to the trustee. They don't tell you what is independence. It is between the trustee and the beneficiary to determine what is reasonable. And the ministry's belief is that only the trustee and the beneficiary know what is independence for that individual. Now, I should add, just on your question from the viewer, that a vehicle outside of the trust is also an exempt asset. And so from the standpoint of the ministry, if a person receiving PWD or persons with disability benefits receives a vehicle in their own name, that vehicle would not preclude them from receiving provincial benefits. Okay?